The trailer makes it clear that the past is no longer buried. Secrets that were hidden for years are now rising to the surface, and they refuse to stay quiet. Every look, every pause, every moment of hesitation suggests that someone knows more than they are saying. The air feels heavy because the truth is close, and once it comes out, nothing can return to how it was before. We see characters moving through familiar places, but everything feels different. Homes feel colder, rooms feel smaller, conversations feel loaded with fear. The comfort that once existed inside the family is gone, replaced by tension and suspicion. Trust is no longer given freely. It has to be earned, and even then, it may not be real. What makes this season feel even more intense is the sense that danger is no longer coming from the outside. It is already inside. The threat is personal now. It lives in shared memories, unspoken grudges, and choices that were never forgiven. The trailer hints that someone has been hiding the truth for a long time. And once that truth comes out, it will destroy the fragile balance holding everyone together. There is also a strong feeling of regret running through every moment. Characters seem haunted by past decisions they can no longer escape. The story is no longer about survival alone. It is about guilt, consequence, and the cost of protecting the people you love. Every action feels heavier, every choice more dangerous. Season 2 sets the tone immediately. This is not a story about heroes or villains anymore. It is about people trapped by their own blood, their own history, and their own secrets. And as the trailer makes clear, the truth will not save them, it will test them in ways they never expected. This is only the beginning. And what comes next will change everything. The story moves deeper into chaos as Season 2 begins to peel back the layers that were only hinted at before. The tension no longer sits quietly in the background. It follows every character, shaping their choices and pushing them toward decisions they never thought they would make. The world of Blood of My Blood no longer feels like a place where people can hide behind loyalty or family ties. Every relationship now carries a price, and every bond feels like it could snap at any moment. As the season unfolds, it becomes clear that the past was never truly buried. Old mistakes return with force, demanding answers and revenge. Characters who once stood united are now divided by suspicion and fear. Trust becomes a dangerous gamble, and even silence feels like betrayal. The emotional weight of what has happened begins to crush the people who once believed they were strong enough to carry it. Faces that once showed confidence now reveal doubt, fear, and guilt. The power dynamics also begin to shift in unexpected ways. Characters who once followed orders now question them. Those who believed they were in control slowly realize they are being played. The balance of power tilts with every secret revealed, and no one is certain who truly holds the upper hand. The story makes it clear that strength is no longer about dominance but about survival. The strongest characters are not always the loudest ones, but the ones willing to make the hardest choices. Family becomes both a weapon and a weakness. Blood ties that once offered protection now create impossible conflicts. Loyalty is tested when survival is at stake, and love becomes a liability rather than a comfort. Every relationship is strained by secrets that refuse to stay hidden. The past presses down on the present, forcing characters to confront choices they believed were long forgotten. What makes this chapter even more powerful is how personal the danger feels. There are no safe spaces left. Every conversation carries tension. Every glance hides meaning. The fear is not loud or dramatic, it is quiet, constant, and consuming. The story slows down just enough to let the weight of each moment sink in, making every decision feel permanent. As the season moves forward, it becomes clear that the characters are being pushed toward a breaking point. Some will rise, others will fall, and some will reveal sides of themselves no one expected. The lines between right and wrong blur completely, leaving only survival and consequence behind. Season 2 does not ask who is good or bad, it asks who is willing to live with the truth. Once it finally comes, the deeper the story moves into Season 2, the more it becomes clear that the greatest danger does not come from enemies outside the family, but from the choices made within it. Every character is now carrying the weight of something they tried to hide, and those secrets begin to collide in ways no one can control. What once felt like quiet tension slowly turns into open conflict, and the emotional distance between characters becomes impossible to ignore. Trust is no longer broken in loud moments, it erodes slowly through silence, hesitation, and unspoken truths. As the pressure builds, the characters begin to reveal who they truly are when survival is on the line. Some try to hold on to morality, even as the world around them pushes back. Others fully embrace darker instincts, believing that power is the only way to stay alive. These changes are not sudden. They grow naturally from fear, regret, and desperation. The story takes its time showing how good intentions slowly turn into dangerous decisions. Every action feels earned and every consequence feels unavoidable. What makes this part of the season especially powerful is how deeply personal every conflict becomes. There are no distant villains or faceless threats. The danger comes from people who know each other's weaknesses, secrets, and fears. Conversations feel heavier because every word carries history. A simple look can say more than an argument ever could. The emotional tension simmers beneath the surface, making even quiet moments feel explosive. As alliances begin to shift, it becomes harder to tell who is truly loyal and who is simply trying to survive. Characters start playing careful games, hiding their intentions behind calm expressions. Some pretend to forgive while quietly planning their next move. Others try to hold on to love, even when it puts them in danger. The line between protection and manipulation grows thinner with each episode, and no one walks away untouched. This part of the story also explores how power changes people. Those who once felt powerless now taste control, and it changes them in ways they never expected. Meanwhile, those who believed they were untouchable begin to realize how fragile their position really is. The balance shifts again and again, creating an atmosphere where anything can happen at any moment. The tension does not explode all at once, it builds slowly, pressing down until it becomes impossible to ignore. By this stage, the audience understands that there are no easy answers coming. Every choice leads to loss. Every victory comes at a cost. The characters are no longer fighting to win. They are fighting to survive the consequences of their own pasts. The story becomes less about right and wrong, and more about how far someone is willing to go to protect what they believe is theirs. And as the season pushes forward, it becomes clear that the hardest battles are still ahead, waiting just beneath the surface. Ready to tear everything apart, the story begins to reach a turning point where every secret, every lie, and every hidden intention starts closing in on the people who tried so hard to control the truth. By this stage, the world of Blood of My Blood no longer feels stable or predictable. The ground beneath the characters is constantly shifting, and no one can be sure where they stand. The tension is no longer building in the background, it is fully alive, shaping every moment and forcing every character to confront the consequences of their past. What becomes clear is that survival now demands sacrifice. Characters who once believed they could protect everyone around them are forced to accept painful limits. Loyalty begins to fracture under pressure, and long-standing bonds are tested in ways that feel almost cruel. Even love, which once acted as a shield, now becomes a weakness that others are willing to exploit. The emotional weight of these choices presses heavily on each character, making even simple decisions feel dangerous. As the story moves forward, the lines between right and wrong begin to fade completely. Characters who once stood on moral ground start to compromise themselves, not out of evil, but out of fear and desperation. Some justify their actions as necessary, while others convince themselves they have no choice at all. This moral collapse is slow and unsettling, making every moment feel painfully real. The audience is forced to question who they should support. Because no one remains entirely innocent, power continues to shift in unexpected ways. Those who once seemed powerless begin to rise, using knowledge and patience rather than force. At the same time, characters who once commanded fear start to lose control, watching their influence slip through their fingers. The balance of power no longer depends on strength alone, but on timing, secrets, and emotional leverage. Every conversation becomes a battle of control where a single sentence can change everything. What makes this phase of the story so intense is the emotional isolation each character experiences. Even when surrounded by others, they stand alone with their thoughts and regrets. Trust becomes rare and honesty feels dangerous. People speak carefully, hiding their true intentions behind half-truths and silence. The atmosphere grows heavier with every scene, creating a sense that something devastating is approaching. The story now reaches a point where every decision carries irreversible weight, and the characters are no longer reacting to events, they are shaping them. By this stage, the consequences of earlier choices have fully caught up with everyone involved. There is no room left for hesitation or denial. Each character stands at a personal crossroads, forced to choose between self-preservation and sacrifice. The world around them feels tighter, darker, and more unforgiving than ever before. What becomes clear is that the fight is no longer about power or control. It is about survival in its rawest form. The pressure pushes people to reveal who they truly are when nothing else matters. Some cling to loyalty as their last anchor, even when it threatens to destroy them. Others abandon their morals entirely, convinced that survival justifies any action. The emotional weight of these choices hangs heavily over every scene, making even silence feel dangerous. The relationships that once defined the story begin to fracture beyond repair. Trust, once broken, proves impossible to rebuild. Old wounds reopen and past betrayals resurface with renewed force. Characters are forced to face the reality that some bonds were never as strong as they believed. Love becomes complicated, loyalty becomes uncertain, and forgiveness feels almost impossible. Every interaction carries an unspoken question: who will turn first? As the tension grows, the story begins to narrow its focus on the emotional core of each character. Their fears, regrets, and desires come into sharp focus. The audience sees not just what they do, but why they do it. This deeper understanding makes every decision more painful to witness. Even when characters act out of desperation, their choices feel painfully human. There are no clear heroes left, only people trying to survive the consequences of their own past. The sense of inevitability becomes stronger with every passing moment. It feels as though events are moving toward a collision that cannot be stopped. Characters sense it too. Their conversations grow heavier, their movements more cautious, their silence more meaningful. Every step forward feels like walking toward something that cannot be undone. The tension is no longer about what might happen, but when it will happen. As the season moves closer to its climax, the emotional stakes reach their highest point. The story no longer relies on shock or surprise, but on the weight of everything that has come before. Each character stands at the edge of a life-changing decision, knowing that once it is made, there will be no turning back. The sense of finality hangs thick in the air, preparing the ground for a conclusion that promises to be both devastating and unforgettable. The story now reaches its most dangerous phase, where every hidden truth finally demands to be faced. There is no room left for denial or escape. The past has caught up with every character, and the cost of their choices can no longer be avoided. What once felt like slow tension now turns into an emotional storm, pulling everyone toward a breaking point they can no longer outrun. The atmosphere grows heavy with inevitability, as if the story itself is closing in around them. At this stage, the lines between victim and villain completely blur. Characters who once believed they were acting out of necessity begin to realize the damage they have caused. Guilt becomes impossible to ignore, and denial offers no comfort anymore. Each character must face the truth of who they have become, not who they wanted to be. The weight of past decisions presses down on them, forcing moments of reflection that are both painful and revealing. Silence becomes louder than words, and regret lingers in every unspoken thought. The emotional intensity reaches a new level as relationships begin to fracture beyond repair. Bonds that once felt unbreakable finally snap under the pressure. Trust, already fragile, shatters completely when long-hidden truths come into the open. Some characters react with anger, others with despair, and a few with cold acceptance. Their reactions are deeply personal, shaped by years of unresolved pain and unspoken resentment. No one walks away untouched, and no one emerges unchanged. As the story moves forward, the idea of redemption becomes uncertain. Some characters desperately search for a way to make things right, even if it costs them everything. Others embrace their darker instincts, convinced that there is no path back to who they once were. The contrast between those seeking forgiveness and those choosing power creates a powerful emotional divide. Each choice feels final, and the consequences feel permanent. What makes this stage of the story especially powerful is the sense that time is running out. There is an urgency in every moment, a feeling that the final reckoning is approaching fast. Conversations are shorter, emotions are sharper, and every action carries more weight than before. The story no longer hints at change, it demands it. The characters are pushed to their limits, forced to decide what they are willing to lose and what they are willing to become. As the tension reaches its peak, the narrative prepares for its final transformation. The groundwork has been laid for a conclusion that will redefine everything that came before. The choices made here will echo long after the story ends, shaping the legacy of every character involved. In this final stretch, there is no safety, no certainty, and no turning back, only the truth waiting to be faced, no matter how devastating it may be.